Hello and good evening, YouTube. This channel, Bullied Resident, was started in order to expose community stalking and or gang stalking in the township of Lower Murray, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Tonight I want to present not only a question, but also a video that gives some insight into what Congress knows about gang stalking. And if you're unfamiliar with gang stalking, I'll give you a short overview, gain some insight into what that might be. I need to start off by saying that gang stalking is a government program. It's a federal program. It is federally funded and federally run. Just to give people a feeling before I start and give some descriptions into what it is. Imagine being the person at the counter right there. Now this is an image of a bygone era. These things don't happen anymore without something very bad happening to the people that perpetrate it, unless there's a crowd like this. That would be really unusual. But in gang stalking, it isn't unusual. And imagine that all these people aren't just standing there for everybody to see. Imagine that this place is filled with people that are harassing this individual without anyone else noticing that he's being harassed. It's done in a covert manner. Gang stalking is done in the context of everyday behavior. Walking your dog, driving your car, walking in a store, shopping, things of that nature. So you would ask yourself, well, how is that done? How can you covertly harass someone out in the open without someone else actually noticing? Well, I'm going to give you an example, a short example here. Imagine that your work is within walking distance of your home in the morning, and you would like to have a nice walk before, and enjoy yourself unabated while you are getting there. Well, that doesn't happen when you're gang stalked. Say that you're approaching a corner that you normally cross to get to work. As you're getting to the corner, somebody very quickly walks out of the store staring at you, wearing a red shirt, and passes you very quickly. At this point in time, you know what's happening. You continue on. And as you get to the corner, a dog is coming around the corner attached to a red leash. As the person who is walking the dog comes around the corner, the woman is wearing red stockings and a red sweater. They pass you, and you wish to God that it was over, but it's not, because as you get to the corner to cross it, two red cars pull up, one behind the other, and stop you from crossing. He puts his hand up to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off," but it was intentional. And one of the car goes, and you have to pass in front of the other red car to get to the other side of the street. That is what is known as a coordinated attack. They know that you're getting to that corner at that time of day, roughly. So that what they do is that they go ahead and coordinate an attack for you to feel terrible before you get to work. But it won't stop there, because when you get to work, you're going to get harassed. Not always, but sometimes in gang stalking this has happened. The reason why they're able to coordinate these attacks is because you're carefully studied before the gang stalking actually begins. They know what your habits are, what you like, what kind of women you like. They know, for example, what kind of extracurricular activities you might have outside of work, who you see, what your relationship is with those people, shop owners, what streets you go on, where you frequent to drink, so on and so forth. And all this information is gathered so that you have not one moment to yourself. This goes on day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. It could go on for many years. It is reported to have gone on for an entire lifetime with some individuals. The reason or the way they are able to get you to react to the color red, because as I've said, the one common theme, the common thread within the attack that I spoke in reference to is that the color red is involved. Well, they sensitize you to that color by doing that sort of thing over and over again. You know that these occurrences are unusual at first, but you don't know what the commonality is. What is it that is making these, what is it about these things that are all common? Well, it's the color red. So the color is used to actually harass you, and what you have is a Pavlovian response. So instead of salivating like a Pavlov dog, you get a heightened sense of anxiety, and also you recall all the previous acts of harassment that have happened to you. So it culminates in this constant threat that you are under, so that you have a heightened sense of awareness of what's going on around you, and it doesn't go away. So that it cuts into the enjoyment of your life. That's one aspect of gang stalking. As I said, it's done in the context of everyday behavior: driving your car, someone walking out of the store, someone walking the dog, etc. Right? So this program actually started in Nazi Germany as a way of intimidating people. When Germany split and East Germany had the Stasi, or the Red Guard, those people who wore red all the time were used to do this type of behavior. You were watched by your neighbors, and this would happen if you were a dissident, or someone they didn't like, an artist, a philosopher, poet, someone of that sort, right? They wanted to purge society of that type of thought, that freedom that people have to think, outside of the box. So when the United States adopted it, and it's a federal program run by intelligence agencies most of the time, not all the time. It is also used by criminal organizations and corporations that do the same thing sometimes. So the reason, or how they get away with it, is that you are put on a watch list, right? Because this is funded. People are trained to do this, and if they get neighbors, which is what happened to me, they get neighbors to get involved in this type of harassment, and they do that by spreading rumors about you. And I'll give you an example, because this has happened to me. Before I start, I will say they would use the nastiest of rumors: that you're a murderer. They love to say that you're a sexual predator, that you're a child molester, or something that is really, that people are very much against, and would be readily, would want to go ahead and harass you and or watch you, whatever your capacity would be. So in my case, at least in the beginning, I started to hear a rumor that a woman committed suicide as a result of my interaction with her over the internet. And what I found out I found this out by myself, that this woman was actually still alive, and I heard this rumor over and over again. And so through a private detective, I was able to ascertain her location and what her real name was. And we did actually have a nasty exchange. My way of viewing this, actually, was a lot nastier. What was said to me was much nastier than anything I said to her. And I was actually harassed by her after the exchange had long ceased, and I ignored her. I want to relate that part of the story to you, because they use that, as a way. They knew I felt bad about what had happened, and they used that as a means of guilt, to say, well, you're sorry. Well, not only are you sorry, she killed herself. Absolutely ridiculous. But I know that this rumor actually was used in my case in order to make me look like a bad guy. So they use negative scenarios to make you look bad. They also use it to prompt guilt within you. And it's always this negative stimuli that it goes on, so that you're not able to enjoy your life. That's the goal. And the end game is that you either kill yourself, or your life is completely ruined. And if the gang stalking doesn't work, and if they see fit, they will actually kill you. That information was given to the general public by an NSA whistleblower by the name of William Binney, who said a couple of things about gang stalking. One of the things that he said, the precursor to gang stalking, is they try to frame you for a crime of some sort in order to avoid the trouble of gang stalking you. If they can frame you and ruin your life through some kind of terrible sexual offense, or another thing that is known as parallel construction. And parallel construction is actually used by intelligence agencies, and what they do is they will, and it's political tricksters do the same thing to make people look bad or ruin your life. What they do is they take a scenario that you were actually in and construct it into something completely different, although many of the pieces of the original story fit, so that it makes it look like it's a credible thing. And I think Robert Mueller actually once said that he's okay with parallel construction. Now, I don't know what side of the political fence that you're on. It is irrelevant, actually. What it means is that people high up in government will actually use this against people. And if they'll use it, someone high in government, they'll use it somebody, the little guy on the street like myself. So they try to frame you first. I would imagine they have sometimes, not all the time. I don't have enough information on that. And then afterwards, they will gang stalk you. If the gang stalking isn't successful, and they haven't changed your behavior, because this is also what he said, William Binney, is that during this time they are trying to change your behavior and trying to mold you into the kind of person that they would like you to be, so that you are no longer a quote-unquote threat, right? And if that doesn't work, then they just off to you, get rid of you. So you're put on a list in order to fund all this stuff. It's very expensive to do, it is very intricate, and it is very organized. And how they do that is actually very simple. They have to have a reason. Now, if you get more than one person saying the same thing about you, and it is a threat to national security, they will put you on a list. And it does take hearsay. And I'm going to show a video shortly that where the woman from the Department of Homeland Security claims that there's a strict criteria, quote unquote, on getting on these lists. And I can tell you that's not true. So I'm going to give you an example of how that works. Let's say that knitting sweaters is a threat to national security. If you get 3 people and for whatever reason they don't like you, because this has been used as an act of revenge, and I was actually given word that what was happening to me was revenge. They will say that you have a pile of sweaters, that knitting sweaters is a threat to national security, that you also have a stockpile of wool and an arsenal of knitting needles, right? So boom, you're on a list. What goes on from there, I don't know. I do know that they can stop you from flying, and that you don't know you're on that list till you try and fly. I know that when I was flying prior to what was going on, when I did get to the terminal, I was always pulled aside by security. I was giving bomb tests, etc. And they said it was random, but if it happened every time, it's not random, right? So that sort of gave me a hint that something was going on. And I kind of joked about it. I said, I guess I'm on a list. Well, it turns out I was on a list, and this is how I found out. I'm a United States Army veteran. I was able to contact a friend of mine who worked in Washington, D.C. I called this person. I hadn't spoken to him in, say, 30 years, and I said, listen, and this was over chat. I said, I'm being gang stalked here in Pennsylvania. I said, I don't know what kind of position you have or what you can do about it, but I need your help. He sent a message back saying, okay. He said, I will contact the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security on your behalf. He didn't say what is gang stalking. He said immediately, oh my God, I will contact the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. But before he said that, he said, I don't know why the company would blacklist you. Now, the company in D.C. speak is the government. So, he didn't think that it was our guys doing it. Immediately he said, wow, that's my buddy, we went through basic together, swell guy, we made plans the next morning to go ahead and speak. When I got on chat to give him my phone number, all the chat that we had spoken about gang stalking was all erased. And when I gave him my phone number for him to contact me, I did not know his. He never contacted me, and I never spoke to him again, and I can't find him on the internet. Go figure. I knew something was up, and I had one more chance to find out what was going on. I know a guy who is a contractor for the United States government. He works for a service that is similar to what Blackwater does. And if you don't know what Blackwater does, they do security on a homeland type capacity, and also they do work overseas in war situations. So Blackwater was actually hired to do security for the Standing Rock protest, and what they would do is surveil people. They also would use what are known as stingrays, so that any kind of communication that went on over phones was instantly intercepted, and they were able to see what people were up to, and groups were also infiltrated beforehand and also during the protest to gain information. And this is public knowledge. This isn't something that I'm speculating. So this is the type of thing that they do. So when I got in contact with this guy, he said, listen, let me look into it and get back to me, and we'll see what's going on. So I did exactly that. I called him 3 days later, and he said, listen, I can't tell you what's going on exactly, but you are blacklisted. He used the word blacklisted. I don't know if that's exactly true. I think that's a general term, okay? I don't know exactly what it is, but I mean, you get the idea. I know what blacklisting is, but I don't know exactly in this capacity what it entails. I don't. So he said, that's all I can tell you, and he said, listen, I can't talk to you anymore. And I'd known this guy for a while, a long time, many years. I said, okay. So, considering what my previous experience was with this kind of thing, talking to guys that are in on the inside and they say they can't talk to me, at least I was able to say, or he was able to tell me, I can't talk to you. Because all the guys that I was in the service with, I cannot get in contact with, and they will not get back to me if I do. Go figure. That wouldn't happen. People would be happy to talk to me. And when you're a vet, you have the kind of bond with people that it's special, and there's nothing like it. Police officers, law enforcement, fire personnel know what I'm talking about, and so do veterans of all branches. So this is the kind of thing that can happen to people, right? In any case, I want to show you this video very quickly of Trey Gowdy grilling a Department of Homeland Security. You can glean from this grilling actually that he does know something about the kind of things that are done during gang stalking, simply by his last statement on the 8th Amendment. So, watch it.
Let me ask you another question about the terrorism list. What process is afforded a U.S. citizen, not someone who's overstayed a visa, not someone who crossed the border without permission, but an American citizen, what process is currently afforded an American citizen before they go on that list?
I'm sorry, there's not a process afforded the citizen prior to getting on the list. There is a process should someone feel they are unduly placed on the list.
Yes, there is. And when I say process, I'm actually using half of the term due process. which is a phrase we find in the Constitution, that you cannot deprive people of certain things without due process. So I understand Mr. Good's idea, which is wait until your right has been taken from you and then you can petition the government to get it back. I understand that that's his idea. My question is, can you name another constitutional right that we have that is chilled until you find out it's chilled and then you have to petition the government to get it back? Is that true with the First Amendment?
Sir, there are strict criteria before.
That's not my question, ma'am. That is not my question. My question is, what process is afforded a United States citizen before that person's constitutional right is infringed? Then he's fine with doing it with the Second Amendment. My question is, how about the First? How about we not let them set up a website or a Google account? How about we not let them join the church until they can petition government to get off the list? How about not get a lawyer? How about the Sixth Amendment? How about you can't get a lawyer until you petition the government to get off the list? Or my favorite, how about the Eighth Amendment? We're going to subject you to cruel and unusual punishment until you petition the government to get off the list. Is there another constitutional right that we treat the same way for American citizens that we do the Second Amendment? Can you think of one? Can you think of one?
I don't have an answer for you, sir.
All right, well, I'm out of time, but...
All right, so you get the idea, especially at the end, that there's a serious problem with the way people are treated when they're put on a list for, various reasons. After 9/11, so many people were put on lists that really didn't deserve to be put on any kind of list. That it is actually so easy that anyone could say something about someone, and then all of a sudden this type of thing that's happening to me can happen to them. I'm trying to understand how I'm a threat to the United States, being a U.S. Army veteran and a registered patriot since I was 18 years old. Don't understand that. Never understand that. And then before I finish, I would like to pose a question. And it's a general question. I don't know how to answer it because I find it absolutely befuddling that this situation is happening in the first place. How is it that anyone with this type of situation that is called local law enforcement and federal law enforcement and warn them what is going on with me, that there are directed energy weapons being used against me in the neighborhood while I'm in the house, right? Directly across the street from a federal agent. And with that immediate danger going on, how could this continue to happen? That nothing is done. If somebody can answer that, I'd really like to hear from you. I really would. And thank you for listening.